on the table for 7 years. The taxpayers want this project, I think most of them do. It is time for the school committee to do the right thing. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Sullivan. George Brickhouse.
Good evening, fellow citizens and community of Brockton. The fact that you're here means that you want to do something and you're not afraid to step out and do something. First and foremost, I'd like to give all thanks to Jehovah Shammah, our God who is present, because the belief is that if two or more of us who are here are believers, and God is here with us also. And I want to point out for our young people, my father at the dinner table one time when we were having dinner, after I told him that Melvin Thompson had taken my lunch, he kept eating, and I wondered, why is he not like getting upset and saying that we're going to go to the Thompson's house and settle this? He kept eating. And he said, if you want Melvin Thompson to stop taking your lunch, then I need to take you over to the Boys and Girls Club so you can learn how to fight. Because sometimes you have to fight for what is right, because there are those who are in the wrong who don't know what is right. And so therefore you will have to go against them. So I just wanted to bring that up, that the Girls and Boys Club, when I was a youngster, helped me learn how to stand up on my own and fight for what I need to fight for. My second piece is that humor sometimes has a lot to do with truth going on. And right now I just want to take a look at the number 1 and 2 movies in the country. The first one is Obsession. I'm sorry, the first one is Disclosure Day, which is happening here based on a lot of the stuff that's going on in terms of people earning additional incomes, but not feeling the need to expose it that they're earning additional incomes. The second one is Obsession, which is a movie that was made by a young person who is, right now has been the number 2 movie in the country for 4 weeks in a row. So therefore, as a youngster, don't let anybody tell you what you can or what you cannot do. Go ahead and live your dream as much as you want to live your dream, and don't let anybody stop you from doing so. And as I said, we need to take a closer look at those who sit at a table and what they eat, because a lot of the times they will not want us to sit at that table to eat what they eat, because there is a level of selfishness that is continued and has been brought forth through the politics of the community. It's called colonial something that has to do with maybe a history being repeated and brought forth by those who want to see a certain place taking place in their lives. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Brickhouse. Last speaker is Thomas Plesky.
Mayor Rodriguez, Superintendent Taliani, and school committee members, my name is Tom Plesky, and I'm a lifelong resident of Brockton, a former teacher, coach, director of athletics in the Brockton Public Schools. Hopefully, you received a letter from Patricia Keith as it pertains to the Boys and Girls Club constructing a building on Eldon B. Keith Field. The field was intended for recreational, sports, and community activities. And I believe that you will have a Zoom call with Mrs. Keith. I suggest a compromise. If the city and school committee are willing to give a portion of Eldon Keith Field to the Boys and Girls Club, and the city is willing to reconstruct a culvert under said building at a cost of $6 million to the city and provide a road variance to said building, the Boys and Girls Club should allocate monies to improve the remaining portion of Eldon Keith Field. My suggestion, as well as that of others, is that if the Boys and Girls Club allocates money to construct an artificial turf field and a walking track on the remaining property, the children at the Arnone School could utilize the facility during physical education classes, during after-school activities, and summer programs. By the way, the Arnone School has a boys and girls track program. The community at large, especially the residents of Ward 2, could utilize the facility for soccer, track, tackle football, flag football, lacrosse, field hockey, and creative recreational activities. The residents of the senior housing across the street and the residents of the immediate area could utilize the track in a safe and secure environment. The Boys and Girls Club could expand their outdoor activities year-long utilizing these facilities. To me, this is a win-win situation. Thank you.
Thank you. Patricia Keith is on a Zoom or on the phone.
I'm sorry?
Go ahead, you're on.
Oh, thank you, and good evening, everyone. Your sound is breaking up a little bit on my end, so I wasn't sure that you were ready for me to speak. I don't have a great deal further to say to the committee beyond my letter, which I believe each of you has a copy. Is that correct? Yes. I can read it for the general public who might be there, or one of you could read it if you choose to do that. What is your preference?
Well, since it's your words, ma'am, you might as well, you should read it.
You would like me to read it?
Yes, please.
All right, thank you. I write to you representing the David B. Keith family, one of whom still resides in Brockton. Her name is Diana Keith. David's parents, by way of introduction, were Brigadier General and Mrs. Warren R. Keith, who lived at 429 Copeland Street from 1920 to 1994. I was a teacher and principal in the Brockton school system from 1965 until my retirement in 2001. It has come to our attention that there is a proposal to use a portion of Eldon B. Keith Field to build a new Boys and Girls Club building and parking lot. While we support any plan to further the education and physical and social health of Brockton children, we believe there are other locations which could be utilized in the city for a new building or another building without dividing the parkland intended for the recreation, sports, and family activities in one of the few green spaces in the city proper. Eldon Keith died in the service of his country in 1919, and this field was dedicated to him by his family. In the event that the committee still moves forward with the building on this field, we strongly recommend that you honor Eldon Keith and the greater Keith family by assuring the safety and display of the eagles and plaque where they are placed on the building and entry to the park. In addition, there should be free access for the youth of Brockton who have used this park for decades, as was intended by the dedication. This park was entrusted by the family to the City of Brockton and the school committee in perpetuity and should remain intact. I have only one further comment regarding this decision, and that is that I would hope that in the event that you choose to build this building on a portion of Keith Field, that this would not set a precedent for further use of portions of that field for other reasons other than what it was intended. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Mrs. Keith. Madam Clerk, please take over the agenda.
Well, I would like to make a motion to bring item number 5 out of order so we can hear it now.
Second.
Motion has been properly made and second to take item number 5 out of order and hear it now. Ms. Centello,
Yes.
Mr. Gomes,
Yes.
Ms. Oliver.
Yes.
Okay, Mr. Rodriguez,
Yes.
Ms. Azak,
Yes.
Mr. Pina.
Yes.
Mr. Sullivan, you're still with us?
My vote is yes.
Yeah, I assume that.
Roman numeral 5 is unfinished business, discussion and potential votes regarding the Boys and Girls Club of Metro South's proposed access and utility easement at the Keithfield property, 128 West Elm Street, Brockton, Massachusetts, 02301, including without limitation votes under MG Chapter 4015A and those relating to the proposed easement and associated proposed special act.
Mr. Gomes.
We did have the facility subcommittee at 5:30 today. We did have every member of the facility subcommittee here, and we made a favorable vote to recommend this to the full committee. It was 4-3. It's 4-3, favorable in favor of moving forward with the project.
Okay. Anyone else?
Also, Attorney Peter Mello is here if any members have any questions.
Oh, so I guess, obviously, as members of the committee are aware, I provided a privileged memorandum that kind of addressed the landscape and summarized some of the salient issues. The Reader's Digest summary, I guess, is that, and just to be clear for the edification of members of the audience and also for the committee's understanding, what's before the committee this evening is the proposal to vote a portion of the Keithfield property over which the school committee has management and control, to be basically relinquished back to the city for purposes ultimately of being conveyed to the Boys and Girls Club for an access and utility easement. This is distinct from the proposal that was before the committee a few years back, which was whether to take a portion of the Keithfield property and relinquish school committee control over it for purposes of putting it up for bid. As members of the committee may recall, a few years ago, that's exactly what the committee did. Thereafter, the city made that carve-out land available for disposition in accordance with public procurement laws, and the Boys and Girls Club was the successful bidder, and since then has been in negotiations with the city to formally effectuate the sale of that property, which basically has become contingent upon, or it hinges on, the school committee's relinquishment of or authorization of an easement, an access and utility easement. So that latter piece is what's before the committee tonight, whether to authorize the devotion of a certain portion of the Keithfield property over which the committee continues to maintain control for purposes of granting an easement to the Boys and Girls Club. Kind of the main questions that arose from this proposed transaction, at least in my view, were one, is the contemplated transaction lawful? Two, would it leave the committee with adequate space to make the committee's desired use of the remaining portion of the field that would remain under the committee's control, including, among other potential uses, for purposes of installing an athletic field? And three, are there any unintended consequences or traps for the unwary, financially or otherwise? Kind of taking those in reverse order, the main financial risk associated with this transaction is or was the proposed repair of a culvert, that the repair or reconstruction of which would be necessary in connection with the contemplated Boys and Girls Club project. We received a letter from the city a couple of weeks back from Patrick Hill, confirming that the city intends to fund that culvert repair work entirely with stormwater enterprise funds and not attempt to to assess any costs associated with that to the schools. And the currently estimated cost of that work is about $3 million, including design and construction. With respect to the space question, obviously, much of that's a design issue outside the scope of a legal opinion, but to assist the committee in making a determination in that regard, last spring, the committee retained the landscape design firm Activitas, which produced a rendering or a conceptual design that appears to depict a field, an athletic field, on the space that would remain under the school committee's control, even if it granted or authorized the conveyance of this easement. And although I don't want to put words in anyone's mouth, I through the city solicitor, conferred with the building commissioner, and I think confirmed that from his perspective, paraphrasing, but the field itself wouldn't be subject to any setback requirements. And the bleachers that were depicted in that plan are on the other side of the property, fully compliant with any applicable setback requirements. And of course, it goes without saying that would be subject to final design plans. These were conceptual designs. And we didn't assess any use-related zoning questions. That obviously isn't impacted one way or the other by the proposed project, but the rendering that was provided by Activitas appears to depict a field within the area that would remain within the school committee's control. And with regard to the question of the lawfulness of the proposed transaction, I dealt with a lot of those questions in the confidential memo that I provided, and for reasons that I've described in past meetings and in the memorandum. The discussion of the particulars of that really isn't consistent with the committee's best interest, in my view. Happy to address any questions, but I do think, and I've said this publicly in past meetings, that part of what's contemplated here is the submission to the legislature of a proposed special act that I think would go a long way to assuaging any concerns anyone has in terms of any legal issues, including procurement and the like. So, and that's one of the proposed votes that the committee would take this evening, would be on the language of a special act to be provided to the council. Ultimately, the city council would vote on language to be submitted to the legislature. So I'm happy to address any other questions, consistent with the caveat that, the particulars of the confidential legal advice, I think, are best not disclosed. But, I think within those boundaries, I'm happy to address anything. And I did provide proposed vote language, both for the vote on the proposed special act and the proposed vote under 15A. And just so it's clear, with respect to the 15A issue, in my view, it's the cleanest and most committee protective way to handle this would be just to relinquish its control over the easement area, and effectively did what it did with respect to the carve-out and vote to deem it no longer needed for its purpose, and that puts the onus on the city council to take a vote to accept the property back into city control, for lack of a better term. Because I think it just doesn't make a ton of sense to me to have the school committee continue to manage the easement area, which obviously the committee wouldn't make any use of, and wouldn't really have any need to have any sort of responsibility with respect to it. So that's why I've proposed to frame the vote as a vote under Chapter 40, Section 15A, to literally relinquish the committee's control over that space, as opposed to a vote to authorize the conveyance of an easement over the space that the committee would then continue to maintain or have control over.
Well, thank you, Mr. Ello. Mr. Gomes.
I've spoken with the Attorney Mello plenty, and we've been discussing this for a while. We all received the information weeks, months ahead. I would like to make a motion that the school committee hereby make a determination pursuant to General Law, Chapter 40, Section 15A, that the proposed easement area identified in the plan entitled Access and Utility-Based Easement, dated May 15, 2026, and stamped by Kenneth Cone, and the related document entitled Meets and Bounds Description, both as presented to the school committee, is no longer needed for its purpose.
On the motion?
Second.
Through the chair, I just want to make sure that one of the things that we're dealing with here is, obviously this is a different and distinct committee as it was in the prior sessions, and that we ensure that the same thing that happened, let's say where the Rock Stadium, Campanelli Stadium is now, and the Shaw Center doesn't happen again, where we continue as a school district to give property and land over to other entities, and then we end up getting the raw deal of it. I will say that from my perspective personally, as a football player at this school, that is where I spent a lot of hot summers playing, practicing, going to games from, taking the bus from there and going to Marciano Stadium. And so I am concerned about the creep of going and taking more and more land away. I would say that for people such as the former AD, Mr. Pileski, who spoke, his teammates, alumni, their concern should be heard and understood, as well as the family's concern to keep this parcel as a whole. Because I think that what I see happening in this city is that history is being wiped away, and I think we're losing a lot of that that made us who we are. And this would be another portion of that. In case you don't know, the first mayor of the city was Zeba Keith. Yes, of course, he was a Republican, but more importantly, he was part of the Keith family. And for those that don't know who the Keith family is, the Keith family built the south part of this city. They built the Walkover Club, which is now apartments. They built the Brockton Country Club, which is still the Brockton Country Club, but it was built by that family. And they had multiple factories and businesses on the south side, and I believe their house is still there on the south side, and you can drive by it today. I would say that as we continue to move forward in trying to build up a city, I fear the fact that I think that we're also forgetting the past. This was a family that gave that property to the city. It was not the city's property. That is prime real estate, especially with everything being built up. And what we've done in the past, I wasn't on the committee, but we gave that property to a nonprofit organization that doesn't pay taxes. We gave that property, we gave the Armory, which was given to us by the state, to the same organization that doesn't pay taxes. That is prime real estate, and I just, in my own conscience, can't support something that isn't fully given back to the city. I yield back.
Thank you. I'm going to go through
On the motion.
roster. Go ahead, Mr. Pino. Mr. Rodriguez.
Question for legal counsel. Just a yes or no answer. That's all I'm looking for, no deep explanation. Yes or no, is it illegal to offer something in return when it comes to municipalities or in government? Saying, if you give us this, we'll give you that in return. Is it illegal, yes or no?
It's completely contextual and fact dependent. If you're referring to, look, in the context of a procurement process,
But I'm just looking for a yes or no.
But it's
Is it
not,
illegal, is it illegal, you as our legal counsel, to get into an agreement of you give us this and we'll give you that? Yes or no? That's all I'm asking for. It's just a yes or no
yeah,
answer.
no, it's.
It's no?
Again, it's circumstance dependent. I guess the answer would be no, if you want to, if
Thank
you want
You-
a
so, Peter, I'm not cutting you
wholesale.
off, but you
if you wanna-
answered that. You answered that.
No, no,
You-
I-
Come on, finish your thought.
Yeah, and I don't know what the premise of the question is, but it's not susceptible to a yes or no answer. It's completely fact dependent and circumstance dependent, is the reality. But insofar as there are some arrangements in the universe of potential scenarios that, where, parties a municipality can agree to exchange something in exchange for something else, there are some circumstances in which that would be permissible, I'm sure, right?
So that would be in writing, correct? So this, like, if there's a proposal, like the committee just didn't come up with a proposal, so there was a proposal that was brought, and Mr. Mayor, you were interim at the time as well when you took over this. If there's a proposal, there's something in writing that, listen, we're looking to expand and turn, we're gonna invest into this property of putting in a field or a playground whatsoever. Shouldn't that be in writing? Or is this something that is just mutually agreed upon?
The disposition of the carve-out was the subject of a procurement under 30B. So there was an RFP issued with an RFP packet, and proposals were submitted in response to the city's advertising of the RFP.
So, I mean, you answered in the beginning. So, Mr. Mayor, me and you, we've been working on citywide project for years, even prior to me joining this committee. For the public, this was a proposal that it was initiated prior to me joining and then actually taking the vote, I think a year or two after. The way it was portrayed to the committee was helping it, and it was unanimous. But then you find out you couldn't do this. So how do you fix it? And I said this again and again to the colleagues, it was landlocked for a reason. And I contested that, and we've had numerous meetings, yes, that I have, when I was vice chair, brought them to the table. We've had 2 or 3 meetings, and the number one question is, how do we fix this? How do we move forward so we can get this off the ground? But to sit here, and you know that I got shut down at a city council meeting in April of 2023 with plans that this committee brought forward to invest into our schools. $17 million of ARPA funds went to the city side. Not a dime was invested into the schools. To know that the city is going to invest millions of dollars to a private company, not invest into the schools that I've been advocating for our students, is a huge disservice. I voted on that knowing that there was going to be field improvements, and it doesn't seem it was going to be that way. It was 2019. It was a promise of a donation. It's 2026. That donation has never made its way to the Brockton Public Schools. My job as an elected official is to protect Brockton Public Schools' interests first before any outside group. Knowing that taxpayers are going to fund millions of dollars, not to the city, to a private entity, and correct me if I'm wrong, when you utilize an enterprise fund, doesn't those funds have to go back? No. They don't, so it's off the books. So the city's going to invest, let's say, $3-5 million, but yet advocating for a Policino field we can't get funding for. Advocating for West, East, North, South, the Davis,
Well,
We can't,
Mr.
I understand it's a different administration.
It's,
I'm giving my position on this.
enterprise account can only be used for enterprise purposes. We can't
Yes.
use enterprise account to go build fields. Enterprise account is to
I
fix-
understand, but that's why I
it's a
said the
water
ARPA.
thing, It
That's-
has to be used for water.
That's why I indicated on the ARPA funds. And you were on the council at the time in 2013, 2023, where then Council President, Mrs. Nicastro, didn't let me present because she said the city didn't have any funds for it. It's interesting, April of 2023 to July of 2023. But to sit here and know that we're giving up something where the committee did and nothing in return and we lose, I apologize, but, you know, through you, we've had these conversations. I do not trust the way that, because when it comes to facilities, it's the city that's supposed to allocate it. We lost a lot of land because of the Campanelli Stadium, which kind of constricts us building the new high school, because if that was still a field, it could have been done a little bit better. But to move forward, knowing that things are not, didn't happen when it should have happened with those individuals that were in those rooms. And I will say, regardless of how this vote goes, that my voice is not going to stop here, that I will be reaching out to the folks at the state level through ethics and the AG's office to look into this further, because it's wrong what's being done.
Well, I can't speak for any previous administration, but I can tell you one thing. I've been here 5 months and 11 days today, and I think one of my first acts is to find money to do Marciano Stadium. So you know how I feel about, you know, putting resources behind the school. And I spend my every waking hours to try to figure out how to rebuild this high school. So you know how I feel about the schools in this system. All right, so Ms. Centello, how do you vote?
I want to shout out to all the students that are here. I would like to believe that
Taking a vote. Point of order.
All right, well, I asked for a vote.
I'm
You
before
can do the
that.
shout out afterwards.
Sure.
How do you vote?
But I just want to say that there are students from our district that do attend the Boys and Girls Club. So my vote is going to be yes.
Mr. Gomes,
Yes.
Ms. Oliver,
Yes.
Mr. Rodriguez,
No.
Ms. Azak,
No.
Mr. Pina,
No.
Mr. Sullivan,
Yes.
The motion carries 4-3, and it passes. Go ahead, Mr. Gomes.
The second piece is, I move that the school committee vote to approve the proposed special act as presented this evening in the pack and the previous emails we've received. Addition of the appropriate book and page record information, the relevant placeholder location.
Can I get a second?
Second.
A motion has been properly made in second.
On the motion.
On the motion.
On that special act, there needs to be an amendment with the remaining parcel not to stay exclusive as an open parcel.
Amend the motion to include what Mr. Rodriguez just said.
Can you repeat that, Mr.
The
Rodriguez?
amendment is for the remaining parcel is to remain an open space.
Yes.
And if I
Go
could
ahead.
just interject, just for,
Or
Please.
whatever legal counsel.
just in the interest of precision, I would add the qualifier, subject to final language acceptable to council, just so.
We'll
we
work
can-
with the council on that one.
I mean, legal counsel.
Oh, legal counsel,
Yeah.
okay. All right. A motion has been properly made in second. Ms. Centello,
Yes.
Mr. Gomes,
Yes.
Ms. Oliver,
Yes.
Mr. Rodriguez,
Yes.
Ms. Azak,
Yes.
Mr. Pina,
No.
Mr. Sullivan.
Yes.
The motion carries. Go ahead, Madam Superintendent.
Roman numeral 3 is the teaching and learning report. And to start the superintendent's report this evening, I'd like to invite up Jamie Langley, our Associate Director of Exceptional Learning, who's going to be speaking with us about our special education programming.
And hi, I'm Jamie Langley. I'm the Associate Director of Exceptional Learning, which is under the Office of Unified Student Services. So we're just one of the offices or departments in Brockton Public Schools who support students. And I'm here to give us an overview of special education updates, to talk specifically around the 25-26 updates, but also just to give a general overview of how wonderful our educators and our instructional support staff are doing for our students with disabilities. We will talk a little bit about some of the work that our educators are doing, and I will talk to everyone about our enrollment numbers of students with disabilities. And we'll also spend some time talking about our Special Education Parent Advisory Council. Our amazing chair of the CPAC, Terry McIntosh, is here, so she'll say a few words. And then we'll talk a little bit about looking forward to the future and our vision in the next few years. But I'll start with the growth of students found eligible under IDEA, in both nationally and state data. And so in 2026, the Department of Education released data. At that time, they were looking at years 23 and 24. And those numbers continue to increase. So in 23-24, there was a 3% increase nationally of students found eligible under IDEA, or students found eligible for special education services. And that data is pretty consistent with the state of Massachusetts as well. Massachusetts data for students ages 3 to 21 also was around a 2.5% increase in from 2023 to 2024. And so you can see that in 2023, statewide, there was over or almost 177,000 students who were eligible for special education services. And that number jumped to over 181,000 students in 2024. And we're still waiting, of course, for more recent data to be released by the Department of Education, but that will come in later years. So that enrollment and the increase in enrollment is pretty aligned with Brockton Public Schools as well. And you can see, and I want to be specific here about the data, that this data does not include our pre-K students. And the reason that I did not include that, the percentage increase, of course, is greater if we include our pre-K students. There are some other factors with pre-K. We do have both our integrated programs, who are our general ed or our peers in pre-K programs. And then we also have students who may be in Head Start or other daycares who were found eligible, so they do have disabilities, and they are coming to our schools to receive services from special educators. But this data here includes our numbers of students with disabilities ages 5 through 21. And so again, as I said, is pretty consistent with the national and state data that in 24 and 25, or from 23-24 to 24-25, we did see the same, around a 2% increase in our students with disabilities. We still, at this point, don't have our 2026 data. We sort of know that we're still sort of in that percentage increase for this year. And so we have many students who are still in the special education referral process, but it looks as if we'll be around that same number when we close out the year. So we all know that the numbers of students with disabilities really starts at the referral process. And so I wanted to capture here and talk to you a little bit about the number of student referrals, which again is consistent with the number of students who were found eligible. So what we saw in 24-25 is over almost 1,200 or over 1,200 students who were referred to special education. And then for this year so far, there have been 1,307 students who were referred for special education. These numbers also include our students who are already eligible under under IDEA. But as many of you know, the students are reevaluated every 3 years to again determine eligibility. And so that number is included in this graph. One of the things that is important to our district, and especially the Office of Exceptional Learning, is to support our students and families as we move through the referral process for our students. And so it's been very important to us to sort of demystify this process, as sometimes we know that it can be a little daunting and overwhelming. And so we've really focused on how we can, communicate with parents and support parents as students move throughout this. Once the referral is made to special education, we are immediately in contact with the parent, and referrals can come in a lot of different ways. They may come in from teachers because they are working directly with the students. They may come from parents themselves. They may come from, especially for our students who are turning 3, from early intervention programs. And so those referrals come directly to the Office of Exceptional Learning. And from that referral, we have a very limited time to get out the consent for testing. And that testing then, we have that 30-day time period for our teachers, both general education and special education teachers and related service providers, our school psychologists, to complete evaluations around that student's suspected area of disability, and that only comes after the parent or guardian has signed consent to for the district to complete those evaluations. Once that happens and we have that 30-day window, the school-based teams, so where the student is attending school, that team, in collaboration with the parent and guardian and other support people for the family, sit down for a team meeting to review that team process. And this is, again, where it's really important for our district, our special educators and our general educators to support our families around some of the findings of the evaluations. And it's in that meeting, that first meeting, that the school-based team determines whether the student is found eligible or not eligible for special education services. And of course, if they are found eligible, then that student's IEP is developed and proposed. And this is very important, of course, because that IEP is driven by the data that's specific and individualized to that student, what the services the students need, and what the appropriate placement is for that student. And of course, Brockton Public Schools, we are still, as we should, led by that guiding principle under IDEA law that we should be educating students with disabilities in the least restrictive environment. And our school-based teams sort of began this process by presuming that any services or specialized services that will be provided to students with disabilities can be provided in the general education setting. And our DESI indicator data that we have to report every year, it really reflects how we've continued to stay within this guiding principle. So for our students with disabilities ages 5 through 21, in 23-24, 56.7% of students were educated alongside their general education peers, 80% or more of the school day, meaning that they were in the general education classroom for the majority of the day. At that time, and I just want to sort of ground us in the time period, we were sort of working towards increasing the number of students who could be educated in the least restrictive environment, and we're in partnership with DESI around that. And so what we have seen is that we are getting closer to that state rate, which is, what we expect to do and what we believe in. And so for the years 23-24 and the previous year 24-25, over 61% of our students with disabilities were fully included in our gen ed classes. And it really is, as I said, demonstrating the district moving closer to the state rate of 67.5%. Is there work to do? Absolutely. But we continue to do that. And it's always important to note, right, that placement is individualized for students. As I said before, students, our goal is that they are provided services in the least restrictive environment or in the general education classroom. And so we have students who are fully or partially included, meaning that they're spending the majority of their time in the general education classroom, and there may be times that students are pulled out of the general education classroom for more specialized services. Our goal is that we're staying within that least restrictive environment, but we also know that there are some students who do need a more specialized setting to be able to receive their services. And so there, some students may move towards a more restrictive environment, and that happens, of course, within the team setting. It's our goal, however, that when possible and when appropriate, that we're moving students back towards the least restrictive environment. Of course, it could be that they are in substantially separate classrooms within the district, in our public day program within the district, and then, of course, the most restrictive settings, which are out of district placements. But again, the goal is always to return them when appropriate to the least restrictive environment. Longitudinal data for Brockton Public Schools, which again illustrates sort of our movement to more inclusive placements. So of the K through 12 students who were in inclusive placements in 2022 or 2023, 71% remain in their placements. Again, it says that the majority of our students are remaining within their placement within their schools. And then students who were in more restrictive placements in 2022 or 2023, 25% had moved to a less restrictive environment by 2026. So it really shows sort of the larger picture of how our educators are really working hard to get students back into a least restrictive environment when appropriate. One of the things that is really special to Brockton Public Schools, and I often speak to a lot of special educators across the state, is the number of specialized programs that we have here. We have taken a lot of time to think strategically around having the development of K through 5 programming within schools, especially at the elementary and middle schools, which was something that we took on about 3 years ago, because before we did have students who might need a specialized program and have to go to another school to be able to access that. But with our work in ensuring that our elementary and middle schools have more programming, we've been able to meet the needs of our students in district. So we have over 77 specialized education programs, and I won't go through all of them here, but I will sort of talk about how our developmental programming is our largest, when that's for our students who are levels 1 through 4 who have developmental disabilities. And we, of course, our students with significant social emotional learning needs may be in our SEL programming, or our public day school. And then again, I just want to point out that we, of course, our pre-K programming that is at the Barrett Russell, our early childhood center, but also spread out across our elementary schools. We do also have a pre-K diagnostician and interventionist team in our North Middle School, and we have that team there evaluate students as they get to their 3rd birthday, which will expand as sort of a larger space for evaluations, and will become a classroom setting as well, so that evaluations can happen within a classroom setting that's sort of a more natural environment for students. So I want to turn now to some of the things the work that we have done as a district to support our students with disabilities. One of the things that was really important to us was how we continue to support and provide training to our paraprofessionals, who are a key element as instructional support staff in our programming. And so in collaboration with our Office of Social Emotional Learning, there was a wonderful training series which will continue for behavior breakthrough, or teaching and training on de-escalation strategies within our programs. And then our focus was to do a lot of targeted professional development for special educators and our general educators when instructing students with developmental disabilities. So we last year did a summer institute for educators, so to talk about best practices in the classroom, instructional strategies and curriculum, and we'll continue that as well. We've partnered a lot and have our own task force with our bilingual department because, of course, we're looking at our English learners who also have disabilities, which is really important for us to establish those protocols within the district around screening. And so that's a part of the work with the task force. And also co-leading trainings. We did that this year as well as last year for our ESL teachers to increase them pushing into the classroom to provide services for students with disabilities. And then we've also done a lot of work district-wide within both general education departments, our administrators, our special education departments, many departments across the district, to look at our success gaps for students with disabilities. And DESE is aware of this work that we're doing, so we're keeping them updated about how we're improving our graduation and long-term success rates, which is very important. And since we know that that starts really at pre-K and elementary school, we also this year had our elementary inclusion committee. And so we're really focusing on, and we'll continue that work, increasing inclusive services and ensuring that our students are accessing core content within the classroom. And our PD around that is also improving instructional strategies for both general ed and special educators. We also continue our collaboration with the Office of Teaching and Learning. I know Dr. Spalding talked, I believe, last week about some of the work that we're doing within the general education classroom. Our students with disabilities, the data is showing that they are moving from below benchmark to at benchmark, and our primary focus has been around the literacy instruction for students with disabilities. And that, again, we've had targeted professional development for our teachers around that. And we're also continuing to provide guidance around specialized instruction, particularly in ELA and math blocks. And finally, our partnership with Boston University. We, of course, analyze our own data, but it's always helpful to have external agencies or providers to work with us to do reviews of our data and collect data and analyze us on our own inclusion efforts and how we're doing when we're supporting our teachers and supporting our students. As I said, for students with who are in our general education setting, we're making a lot of progress with their academic proficiency, and we'll continue to do that, of course, with the Office of Teaching and Learning. But I did want to point out in some of our developmental classrooms, and these are substantially separate classrooms for our students who have developmental disabilities, the great work that they've been doing with our Teach Town curriculum, which has shown really significant progress for our students. We saw over the last year that ELA had the highest set of learning objectives mastered in K through 12, and also showed the highest progress across the district. Grades 9 through 12 students demonstrated an average improvement of almost 65% from pre-test to post-test scores in ELA. Our grades K through 5 students showed 131% average improvement in ELA, 90% average improvement in math. And we were really proud that Brockton Public Schools was 12% higher than other like-sized districts nationally, with a higher percent average improvement in middle and high school math. So that was great. It's a testament to the work that our special educators are doing within our classrooms for students with developmental disabilities. And so I will pause here to introduce our chair, Terry McIntosh, of our Special Education Parent Advisory Council, and have her come up and say some words about CPAC.
Good evening, everyone. Most of you know me on the board, I believe, here. I thank you for listening to me this evening. I am the president of the Special Education Parent Advisory Council for Brockton. I enjoy it. I have learned so much as a parent. But we have a meeting once a month. It's been at Brockton High. Usually the attendance, I feel, could be better. But as a parent of two special ed children, I do realize that you have very good intentions of going to that meeting that night because it's something that's very interesting. It could be about an IEP. Very, very important for special ed parents to be educated about what an IEP is. And we all go in there with this fight mode because we're all just like, but when you come out, you either have an experience that the beginning can be tough, but when you come and you belong to the pack, which everyone is welcome, anybody is welcome. You don't need to have a special needs child. You don't need to be a parent. You can be a caregiver. You can be a neighbor, the community. We have community members that don't miss a meeting. We have a couple of city council meeting members that have not missed a meeting. We have some of you that are able to come, but Mr. Pena brought to my attention the Special Olympics, a very good point, and I will share that in a moment. But it's okay if they can't make it, because from the support from Jamie Langley and Dr. Jamie that we talked to, that was speaking to earlier, the last 6 months, the support have gotten from these two, really, where I'm seeing a change at, like, when you see us September, October of next year, we will have a Zoom. So those parents that had very good intentions of coming, but their child, we all know if you have a special needs child, it can change like that and you're not going anywhere. We also, Jamie, makes sure that a text goes out now, that every parent that has a child on an IEP is getting a text about the CPAC meeting. And we always, at the end of the year, there's 2 other offices as myself, but we listen to the parents when they're there. We're like, what would you like to see for next year? What do you really want? And then I meet with Jamie. We have the parents' feedback, which is very, very important. We have students that even come, and I love that. When the students are talking that come to Brockton High or in middle school, or we've had somebody that's been sitting with us before I even was an officer that would come with her mother, because we do have childcare, we have translators for every language, and all of a sudden these students that come with their mother or the caregiver every single month now are in high school. And when you hear them speak, they are really advocating for themselves. And I'm just so proud of that. And that to me is such a heartfelt thing to really be experienced. But I think what I just want to say to all of you, it is an honor to represent the city of Brockton CPAC, because I'm telling you, you don't have a bigger cheerleader than Terry McIntosh. I have 2 children that are on IEPs, and as Dr. Snellgrove was talking about in honor about the red, the yellow zone. You know, just last week, my personal experience, my son, I have 2 children that go to the same school, a different district than where I live. I live in Ward 3. They go to a different school on the other side, but we drive them and pick them up, special ed. And one child needed to get to school. My husband drives them. But the other child, it was a bad morning. We were on maybe our 12th shirt that did not. Okay? So this is what I need to say, that I called the secretary at the school and said, you know, John, my first son's on the way to school, but the other one, as soon as Bill gets back, I think he'll be ready. He'll probably be there in an hour. Okay, Mrs. McIntosh, don't worry about it. I'll let the homeroom teacher know. My husband gets back, I am literally like, I'm ready, I don't even know. It was a bad morning. And that usually doesn't happen, you know, you gotta be pretty structured with it. And just to let you know, as Jamie started off her presentation, it's very important for me to say this. The secretaries, the nurses, the paras, the maintenance, every teacher in that school, every school, my children have been in many different programs, so we've been many different schools in Brockton through special ed through the years. When I tell you, my husband pulls in the driveway, I'm like, have a great day, I love you, to my child. He wasn't going to speak to me and say, I love you back. He was done with me. My husband comes home, I'm just like, honestly, I'm pretty strong, but it was a rough morning. And my husband said, I said, how did he do? Great, he walked right in. His homeroom teacher was at that front door waiting for him. I'm telling you, and Ms. Nolan, and you know, who does that? You know, she's responsible for so many children, and he is in one of the city resource rooms that Jamie spoke about. But what I'm telling you, the teachers, the parents, they're wonderful. They really are. And I thank them. And the parents that come to the PAC, they can't make it. And if they email me or something, and they'll say, you know, they're real stressed out about something. And maybe I've experienced it, but I certainly can listen to them. I don't give them a lot of advice because I'm a parent just like all of them. But I do know the people to direct them to if they've already done the chain of command, or maybe say to them, have you talked to your teacher, the team leader, or the principal? Let me tell you, maybe the next day I'm like, well, if you need any more help, just let me know. The next day they're sending the nicest email. Thank you. I spoke to this person, and that everything's fine. So these little hills that can become mountains, it's the support we get off of each other and bounce off of each other is so important. And in the speakers that we have are what the parents ask for. Like I said, transition's a big one. IEP meetings. Our first meeting of every year has to be the bylaws, which Jamie presents, or, you know, it doesn't have to be. But I'm telling you, why do we have to go out of district to look for speakers to come in when our department heads and the people that are in our children's areas, they are amazing. So honestly, I feel, and so do the other two members, that we keep in district for our speakers because they know they're in here and it's so important. Yeah, could we get somebody an hour away or Boston or whatever? No, we don't need to. We have the best right here. And my last thing I want to say, I was very touched by this. Desi pops in once in a while, which I'm glad they did. And they said, you did a great job at the city clerk's office. I'm like, what the heck? Like, oh no, now what? You know, I'm just a volunteer parent here. They're like, you had every single language at the clerk office, which we have to do by October with our schedule. And this past September, I went there with, after we review it all with the calendar's official, and they stamp each page, and it has to go behind the glass. So it's always there, and then I bring it into the mayor's office, all stamped. And this year, I was so proud, because this is a big milestone for all of us. That thing is in every single language at the clerk's office. So that's a big thing to me. That was very, very important. And Desi said to us, after the meeting, I sat down, like 2 days later, they asked to speak to me, and they said we would like one of the first communities, and I was pretty impressed with this, because I'm no computer whiz, trust me, that they did go to the clerk's office like they do to every other city in town the size of our district. And they couldn't believe it. They were like, that is really amazing. We don't usually see that. We usually have to say, tell this, director of special ed, that needs to be there. So the CPAC isn't quite like a PAC at school, a little more involvement that I do need Jamie Langley and Dr. Jamie for their support, because, I'm not educated in all of this, but you learn a lot. And they said Brockton's really working very hard as far as a Brockton CPAC. We try to do one every single month, because, that's what it says to do. Desi is at the point that they said, you know what? You guys are having enough meetings and the topics that parents want to hear. So they said, you know what? You don't need to do one every month. Do it for a year. So I think for next year, that's kind of what we're going to do. We're going to piggyback with, we're going to do a very large fair at Brockton High here with very different, all of the communities, like the parents are very, very interested in getting in. I'm going to have a fair, and it's going to be like someone from Social Security office, someone from Mass Health, any agency you can think of is going to be there. It'll be a fair. I'm really excited about that. It will probably be, I bet, November. We're going to piggyback with Brockton Public Schools. So that is kind of our future. I think this past year we had some good attendance, some not. But I think, too, there's a lot of PACs there's a lot of groups. So parents don't really know which group they should be at. Where, there's a lot. And when you're in school, especially at a school of this size, they have different, it might be called like Brockton High Special Friends. So I think the parents get a little not misleading, because that's such an important group too. But I think our attendance, the people that came because they needed questions, help, feedback. One lady asked, where can I get my daughter's haircut? Does anyone know if a beauty parlor can come to my house? And we found one for her, and they did. We had another lady that took me aside and said, I can't even go to church. And it was very important to her and her child, but she knew she couldn't bring her child to church. She said, what do I do? I said, well, so I kind of thought about it, and you don't want to get into people's business, but she told me she was Catholic, so I'm like, so I go to the church, and I said, listen, this is a story. And the priest was so wonderful. He goes down to her house once a month, because she wanted blessing of the throat for her child before Lent and all this. And now this priest goes to her house and gives her communion like once a month. And that was so important to her, and there's no other way this woman would get there. So that is like important. And that, to me, it may not be related to school, but again, it's communication that matters. And every one of you somehow, like I said, my children may not go to school in Ward 3, but I know that where my child's going, who this school committee person is. So what I'm saying, you all are representing every single school, because, like I said, when special ed, we have all these programs, but we can't have them in every single school or neighborhood schools. It's like impossible. But the special ed office, they do a great job, and all of the staff, to tell you where your child belongs. And it may be in your district. So, it's just so important. I think you guys all realize that, because like at the Olympics, the first day, we split it up this year. And Mr. Rodriguez, thank God, we needed someone to bring the young gentleman with the torch that was so excited. And I thank you for that. You jumped right in. And Mr. Pina, he says, first time I met Mr. Pina, and he was very interested about the CPAC. He came in one evening to one of our meetings that ran a little later, but we had a school committee meeting he had to get to. So, with all due respects, he had a very good point. He goes, can we maybe change that to not a Tuesday? And I'm like, you know what? I'm sure we can. And I spoke to the other offices, and we can, but we always kind of go by what's easier for the parents. Nobody wants to do a Monday, nobody wants to do a Friday, and Thursdays. So I believe it will be a Wednesday. And once I sit down with Jamie and find out where the location is best for the parents, and what schools open that day and that hour, so we're so we're not cost extra money to open up another school. So we kind of just go but the last few years it's been at Brockton High. But I can't thank all of you enough. I mean, like I don't know what to say, but you all, I know you're in it for the right reasons, but I always want you to remember, you may want on your award, but trust me, you have a lot of children that don't live in your ward, and I think you all realize that. And I just want to thank you, and I hope with the change that, the calendar will go, I'll make sure that all of you get one. And I really hope you can come to, one of our meetings. That would be great. Or maybe 2 or 3, But I don't want to take up all your time. I know it's a long night. But I want to thank Dr. Jamie and Jamie, because they really have been a great improvement for the technology and everything we need to get the word out about Brockton CPAC. So I thank you all. And I want you to have a great summer, and everyone relax, and we'll see you do it all again in September.
So I'll leave you guys just with the last slide. Thank you, Terry. And looking to the future, and I'll be brief, we will have next year a classroom expansion at Brockton Therapeutic Day School for middle and high school students, classroom expansion for students with developmental disabilities at our elementary and middle schools as well. And we'll continue to provide our professional development for our instructional support staff. As I said before, they're very key to the support of our students in our classrooms. We'll continue our ongoing consultation through DESE to continue improving our academic proficiencies for students with disabilities. As I mentioned before about the Summer Institute for Educators, that will be again this summer as well. And we'll continue our collaboration as we have been across the district with our other offices, our Office of Teaching and Learning, and our bilingual department as well. And we'll continue our work in our steering committee because again, it's district-wide, and we'll be going into year 3 of that next year. So thank you so much for letting me be here. It was exciting to see everyone. I appreciate you inviting me to speak.
I just wanted to make some few comments, and also as a parent, I do want to thank Jacob that's here for calling me regarding doing an interview about my son when he first started, in pre-K. And I think that just want to make clear the difference from 6 years ago to now is incredible. I think the fact that we have great leaders taking over the SPED department and definitely having parents involved, I think that has made a big difference. We're not 100%. I think that my article definitely did help and reached out to a lot of parents. I did get a lot of emails and calls. And just to be in that community of parents that face the difficulty when we first started in a school department and to see how it is now, it is definitely it's, as a parent, you can tell, you can feel, you know your child is being seen and heard, makes a big difference. And just what Terry was saying, definitely make friends with the secretary, the nurses, the paraprofessionals, and the adjustment counselors, because I do also call them in the morning and say, this is how my child is going. Please don't judge him on his behavior, because he is having those difficult days. Yes, they have like 3 shirts they're changing, or they don't want to wear pants, they want to wear shorts in a 0-degree weather. So I think it's something that us as a parent do know the struggles we've been to, do see our children, and I do appreciate you. I appreciate Dr. LeBois, especially for the difference you're making, because I can say as a parent now, I see it, I feel valued, I feel seen and heard. When I have any issues, I'm not going as a school committee member, I'm going as the parent, and I like the fact that I'm respected as a parent. Okay. And I think that I think the reason why I went to a few meetings, but I think it's because on a Tuesday, it's very hard for us to be here. But I do like the fact that if we change it on Wednesday, I want to be part of the conversation. I want to be just not as a school committee, but as a parent, to basically give my experience and our experience and help parents that is coming into the school district how to approach different situation. Because I think a lot of it, if we don't accept them, they're going to go somewhere, and this is how we lose our students. And the parents that reach out to me, please reach out to the directors of the SPED department. They're more willing to listen to you. If there's issues going on, please reach out, and if not, reach out to one of us, and we can try to basically figure out how do we resolve the situation, the paraprofessional not being there, or lack of staffing, how we can support our students. But I do appreciate it as a parent. Thank you very much for all the hard work you guys are doing.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Oliver. Mr. Pina.
How are we doing?
Hi, I'm great.
Is Jamie in for conversations as well? So if I ask a question, he can step in? All right, awesome. So obviously, as you know, we just went through our tenuous season called the budget season.
Sure.
Pretty eye-opening at the cost of doing business and doing the right thing. My question is, as the department looks to the future, and I saw those, if you can, send us a copy of that slide deck.
Absolutely.
Because I should have just taken a picture of it, but
Sure.
because it's important to see where you plan, or where you guys plan, or whoever's doing the planning, I don't even know, but where you plan to go. So when we ask questions during next budget season, it's going to be a lot of how are you bringing the kids back to the district.
Sure.
giving them the resources that they need and that we currently send out of district. If there were one or two on that list, and I saw that you had the day school that you were going to increase rooms, or I'm not sure, but so can you kind of talk a little bit about how we can increase our services and bring students closer to home, which then in turn cuts down on transportation costs and possibly the costs, even though we're going to have to hire teachers and the professionals that do those services, what kind of services can be brought back quickly, or at least in the next year or two?
Sure. So I'll speak specifically about what was in the last slide and expand a little bit upon that, and I'm happy to provide that slide deck as well. What we see right now as far as our sort of growing numbers, as I talked about in the beginning, was around our students who need specialized classrooms, who have developmental disabilities. That's sort of our largest population right now. So that's sort of the population that we're focusing on, trying to expand the classrooms and increase the staffing to support our students. As I said before, the instruction is specialized, and we understand that the classroom setting needs to be at a smaller staff to student ratio. So that's something that we take into account. Right now, we sort of see, as we look at trends over the last few years, which is what goes into the planning, where we need to expand, and that is why we're looking at some of our students coming up from elementary school who will need to be, have places to go in our middle school. And it's also, as we're looking at pre-K students coming up into elementary, that is where we're sort of focusing our efforts as well. I think that as far as students coming back, that's something that we continue to review not only annually in their team meeting, but also as we collect data. We look closely at our students who may be ready to come back, and we sort of, work on transition with parents and with out-of-district schools to make sure that we have good transition plans for them. Many of our students who are in out-of-district placements really do have, as I know this is, we've talked about this sort of in the past before, really intensive needs. And so I think when we look at sort of staffing and resources of our classroom, where we are in our substantially separate classrooms, we meet the needs when it comes to staffing for students who might need 24-hour care or that type of thing. That's sort of something that we would need to look more closely at.
So has a cost comparison been done on each of the out-of-district placements to see if we were able to possibly compile, and I hate to talk in these terms, but a number of students that would, I'm not asking if they're coming back into be in any inclusion or anything. I'm asking that, can we hire and can we build on to our current district and actually provide that, and then possibly have kids from other districts come to Brockton as compared to going to these other districts or these other locations that they need to go?
Yeah, I think that's something that's certainly under steady review. I think, and I know we've talked about, I've heard in other school committee meetings that we've talked about the other factor of space. And I think that that is one thing that we have to sort of think about when we're thinking about our elementary numbers. So they make up the majority of our students currently with disabilities, and those numbers continue to grow as we receive those referrals, and we are running out of space. So the number one thing at this point, I think, when we think about how to help students have more space for instruction, is really figuring out what our long-term plan is around facilities and space, especially in our elementary schools.
I'm just going to ask one last question. I'm sorry.
No,
this is probably the hardest question, but in the past 10 years, let's say, have we seen a steady increase in the number of students that need IEPs, and what do you attribute that fact to?
Yeah. So yes, enrollment numbers are going up and referrals are increasing as well. I think that there are a multitude of factors in that. It's a very complex answer because it is something that we continuously review. I think I know that COVID seems in a lot of ways that we're removed from it, but that is certainly something that I think impacts our referrals to special education. We certainly see an increase of referrals when students get to kindergarten, so that's something that I think we continue to watch. The other thing I think that I hear, and this is anecdotal data, although we have tracked that in the last 2 years, is because Brockton is known for having a lot of specialized programming, and we really have amazing, I can't talk enough about how amazing our special educators are. There are families who do move to Brockton to have their student with disabilities be educated in the Brockton Public Schools. And so that is something that we're tracking as well. And so I do think that that's another factor as to why we see that increase in student numbers.
I'll just add, and then I'll yield back, but I'll add that I have, as much as possible, been a champion to actually get people to move to Brockton for what you just said, because I think that our special education services are probably second to none, along with some of the other programs we have, like our dual language programs. But a lot of these programs are things that not a lot of people focus on because they're looking at the bad. But this is one of the things that, and I commend you and Jamie as well. I would say your last name, man, but I mess it up every time. So I heard Dr. Jamie today, so you're Dr. Jamie from now on. But I commend you for the work you guys have done and continue to do. And I think that it's just another one of those many, many, many shining lights that we have in the city and in the district. So I yield back.
I think Ms. Azak.
Thank you. Actually, Ms. DePina touched base on a couple of my comments. Thank you so much. As always, very thorough. The information you provide is always wonderful. And I'm glad that you're going to provide us with the slide because I'd like to go back and just review that now that we've had a chance to have some questions one-on-one. So again, I love where this department is going. The past few years, with Dr. LeBlanc and Jamie, you coming on board, I do see a difference being on the committee. So thank you for all that you're both putting and the rest of your team into this department. But, Mrs. McIntosh is always thanking us. And Terry, you are the go-to. Any family member over the years, anyone that would ever reach out, I'd be like, you got to reach out to Terry McIntosh. She is very knowledgeable. So thank you for the knowledge and the dedication that you do bring to the CPAC and to the families. Sometimes we don't realize the changes we make in people's lives. But, Terry, you've given so much to those families and helped them. You've guided them through whatever they needed to go through, from just the basics to, like you said, one mother wants to have, once a month at least have a priest come in and because of religious reasons, that I get it. It's not always easy to do the basics that we sometimes take advantage of. It's, we can up and go, and some families just can't do that. So thank you for everything that you've provided to the families. Like I said, you're always thanking us, but no, thank you. We really appreciate everyone and what the CPAC does for the families. And if we could do it on a non-Tuesday, I know I've attended a couple of times, but non-Tuesday would make it so much easier for more of us to be able to attend. So thank you.
I want to piggyback what Mr. Pena was talking about. With our numbers going up, I wrote it down. Can you educate us a little bit more about how do we find a student eligible for an IEP for the IEP? Meaning, what type of documentation or assessment is needed, but who is doing this assessment? So is this something that the school can just place a student on IEP, or is it has to be medically the diagnosis has to come from a medical professional?
Yeah, so a referral for special education typically comes in, as I said, it could come from teachers, it could come from parents, and it's important once we receive the referral that we get more information from the parent around the suspected area of disability, because it's important that we know out of the 13 disability categories what we believe the student might have a disability for. And so we then determine from that, and it's the school-based team. They're determining based on that suspected area of disability which battery of evaluations that should be done, and they are formal assessments. So there might be a general education teacher who's performing educational assessments. There might be a school psychologist who's performing or completing a psychological evaluation. There might be a speech and language pathologist who is doing, some type of, evaluation around speech, occupational therapy. So it revolves around that area of suspected disability, and the school-based team who know the student, and they're reaching out to the parent to get information around that as they're doing their testing. And then it's not until they've gathered the testing and sat down in a team meeting with the parent or guardian to go through the testing, and then as a team determining whether the student should be found eligible for an IEP. And so that's the process. And then from there, that's when the IEP is developed and it's individualized to the student. They, as the school-based team, based on that data and those reports, they determine what services are needed and what's the most appropriate placement for those services to be delivered. Mm-hmm.
Thank you for the education part. I have a second question. When we're looking at the intensive needs,
sure,
specifically the students that attend the residential school, can you let us know? Or can you give us some examples of what are their needs that our district is not able to provide to them?
Sure. Many times, or I'll say, I don't like to talk about profile of students, right? But let's give an example of a student who might be found eligible for needing a placement in residential. It could be that they have extensive mental health concerns, or it could be that they also have significant medical issues as well. So not only are they sort of failing to progress in other restrictive environments, but they're also may need around the clock nursing care. They might need, some students in our residentials, the staffing ratio is quite different. There might be, 3 staff to 1 student. It could be that amount of a student to staff ratio. And so that looks different in the residential setting, of course, because they are living there and receiving those supports throughout their day, but also that's it's available to them overnight as well, since they're living there. So those are students who have extreme difficulty and need significant supports that may not be provided within an 8-hour day, just because of the amount of needs that they have. And again, that's even those students, that data around any progress is still reviewed annually to determine if they need a less restrictive environment.
Ms. Oliver.
I just have 2 questions. Sorry. Are we partnering with other facility or programs such as the ARC for our students that's aging out? What
Absolutely.
are we doing to help those students out?
Yes, we are, and the ARC is very involved. Of course, they come and speak to our CPAC. They've been on their agenda, and we've also partnered with them. Brockton High School has our transition program. I wish I spoke a little bit more about it, but I didn't want to take up too much time. But for our students who are 18 to 21, again, this is another thing that Brockton is really unique at providing those services to our transition age students. So we work very closely with the ARC around connections to services within the community, but also how, they've partnered with us in, obtaining jobs, teaching skills to students. We also have partnered with Bridgewater State University. I didn't talk about this. It was in the slide, which you'll see once you receive it, but we've created the satellite program in partnership with Bridgewater State University as well for our students who are able to, and they're the 18 to 21 as well, who can receive transition services right there on the college campus. And so that is something that we're continuing to expand our partnerships. We do a lot of connection work in our transition programs with many state agencies as well. And so we try very hard, again, individualized. Our transition planning starts at age 14, and the plan and goals for those students continue as they reach the 18 to 21-year-old transition age.
That's good to know, because I know they're just in our backyard, and I've had the pleasure of volunteering there.
They're great.
And they're a great program.
Absolutely.
And just seeing our students, because some of them were our students working there daily, and just basically learning how to have a life, like how to cook and everything else. So it was it was a great experience to watch that, and definitely working side by side with some of our students. So just doing the work and them clocking in, clocking out. And so it was a great experience. My second question is, can you, for the residents, basically give the difference between an IEP and 504?
Yes. So a 504 is, again, law as well, but it doesn't necessarily, it's not under IDEA. So a 504, a student can have a disability. It's not as regulated as IDEA law. So the team might meet, determine that the student has a disability, but it doesn't necessarily mean that there's a need for specialized instruction. They may need accommodations. And so those accommodations could be provided within the general education classroom. And so the school, of course, is responsible for providing them without those accommodations. Under IDEA, there's the documented disability, and it's determined that because of their disability, they need specialized instruction to access the general education curriculum. And so that's the difference there. The 504 plan doesn't have the same legal guidelines around the review of it. Of course, it should be reviewed, but it's not required. It is required if they're moving to another school or another setting. And under the IEP, there's, as you're probably aware, more guidelines around meeting annually to develop new goals and make progress around the goals.
Thank you. It's also like the 504 can also depend on like medical.
Absolutely.
Like say a chronic disease or
Sure.
chronic health issues that would also allow the students to be under the 504, correct?
Definitely,
Okay.
yes.
Thank you very much.
Of course.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Keep up the good work and make us proud. Dr. Tahiliani.
Thank you. So we have a lot of fun and exciting things happening around our district at this time of year. The last day of school is next Friday, which is a full day of school. And I look forward to, at the meeting on July 7th, providing you an update with all of the highlights from around the district, from our moving up ceremonies to some of the events that have been talked about tonight, such as the Special Olympics. So I'll provide all those highlights at our July 7th meeting. But one thing that I did want to review tonight was regarding the questions on the school committee salary in the budget book. So we were able to look more deeply into what happened and why, to make sure, so that I could provide this explanation, but also so that I can let you know what we are doing, not only to rectify it now, but to make sure it doesn't happen again in the future. So I will just say that also I know I forwarded some emails to you today as we're doing some more research on this. And at this time last year, we were doing the human resources restructure too. So I just want to point that out, because we went from 11 people in that office. We changed the positions, went down to 8 people. And so there was some transition in that office at the time. And so what happened was the misinterpretation came from the budget book itself, which on the line, it said $140K for that line in the budget book, just like it did this year, but it did not articulate the fact that the stipend was part of that line, which it was. So when they were inputting the salary based on the budget book, they took that amount of 140, divided it by 7, and that was the 20,000, and that's why it got put in as your salary. And then there was an email chain that I forwarded to you today that was specifically about the stipend. So there were 2 different email threads that kind of bifurcated that communication stream, which is why then the stipend was viewed as a wholly different thing. So this was a clerical error, and I do apologize for it. Just to let you know sort of when those personnel actions were completed in Munis, they were entered, the salary and the stipend were entered in July of last year. And so they were entered by HR on July 17th for our current school committee members, and then a personnel action form was entered in January for our new school committee members. So corrected personnel action forms have been entered using the correct amounts. The amounts now in Munis are correctly $15,000 for salary with the $5,000 for stipend. So that is how it was supposed to be. And next year too, in the budget book, we can articulate between the salary line and the stipend line so that there was no question. Once we have the overpayment amounts, individual settlement agreements will be drafted and signed to recoup the overpayment. This is similar to how we do it with anyone else in the district where there's an issue like this. So this can be done by either reducing future payments, or it could be done by paying by check. But again, payroll and HR working together to figure out the exact amounts, and then you will each to avoid it happening in the future. Munis has also been updated with the correct amounts. Copies of the personnel actions are actually going to be, are already located in the personnel files of each of the school committee members, just for future reference. Reminders have also been sent to all HR staff by way of a calendar invitation for July 1 to review the school committee salary and stipend amounts to ensure accuracy, and a second calendar entry for January 1 to review for any new incoming members of the school committee. However, also as we're moving to position control, this will also be rectified by that, because the school committee will also have their own position control numbers, which will then allow for us to enter the rules for your group. And that will, so one of the rules for this group is that it will be a static amount that does not roll over. So for example, when we were doing the budget and we were doing a 2% increase, because we had to do that manually because the rules are not already in Munis, it then transferred everybody over. Whereas again, when we have position control numbers that we're working on, and this group will have their own, one of the rules that will be entered for school committee is that your salaries and your stipend are static amounts. They are not subject to a 2% increase each year. And things like that. So right now we're doing it manually with the HR calendar entries for reminders. But when, again, I know I sound like a broken record, when we have position control in place and we are working on it and making progress, a lot of these issues that are coming up with manual payroll instances will be resolved. So I'm happy to take any questions.
Ms. Azak.
Thank you. Thank you, Superintendent. We spoke earlier regarding this situation. So all I ask is if we can just move it along quickly so we can see how we're going to get this taken care of. And also, this goes back to previous members. So we have 2 members that were here, Mrs. Sullivan and Mr. Vega. So if we can, obviously they're not getting paid, so they would have to be done differently. But if we can just move things, I know things take time with BPS in the city, but let's just get this going so we can rectify the issue.
Absolutely, and we will get it done as quickly as possible. And again, I'm so sorry for
No,
this.
thank you for the clarification.
You all set? Miss Oliver and then Peter.
Thank you. I do appreciate that you are talking on this matter, and I did send you an email. It's unfortunate that certain individuals basically putting us out there that we stole from the students. And just to be clear, I've never stolen anything in my life, and I'm not that type of person. And I think just the character assassination is unacceptable that we're getting, the attacks on Facebook, and just the fact that somebody had to make a motion last night during a meeting to take 35 okay, from the students as a punishment to us. You're not punishing me. You're punishing the students, and the lack of respect between the leadership at the other side to us, it just got to stop. Like certain individual has a vendetta and revenge, but you're basically taking it out on the students when we need every penny possible to educate our students. You're not hurting me, you're hurting our students, and it's just the fact that there's a motion and then there's public attack, and you're posting our information out there for no reason. It just, when are we going to grow up? When are we going to be adults? Because if you have a revenge against me, then do it against me, but don't do it against the students of this city, because they didn't ask for it. They're not part of this. But the vendetta, the revenge, the back and forth, when is it going to end? Like, when is it going to end? Because I know personally, I have not done anything to certain individuals to continually being defamed, being attacked for no reason. If you're grown up, reach out to me and we can have that conversation. I'm a mother, you're an adult. But to go about the way it was done recently, it gotta stop. Like, you're a grown adult acting the way they are because of revenge, because who I'm friends with, because how I vote. It's just becoming to a point that is toxic. It's mentally and emotionally abused that all of us keep getting, that it gotta stop. At one point, it has to stop. Who's gonna be an adult? So my promise right now is I'm done. If you have a hate towards me or you have revenge towards me, that's between you and your God. It has nothing to do with me, but moving forward, I have nothing to do with it. I'm gonna do the job that I was voted to do. I'm gonna continue fighting for my students in Ward 3. If I'm gonna continue to advocate again and talk against a certain individual that is continue to be awarded, being a savior of this city, then go for it. Because at the end of the day, the truth will basically speak for itself. Thank you.
Mr. Pina.
So let me just ask this. The attacks on me, I don't really care. I think it's funny, but I need to know, with the budget that we sent forward, the mayor sent forward, those two budgets, obviously they voted on the lower of the two, which I'm okay with. But now they cut it by 35,000.
Did that go through?
Yeah, it did.
Last night they did.
Yep. So can you tell me and tell us how, now, what does that do for your budget? Is that a position that's lost? Is that, because we don't get impacted. We're an elected official. So therefore, and I've already said I'd give up my pay. But now that the city council, in their obvious lack of wisdom, didn't understand that you can't earmark a cut in a net school spending, which obviously they don't know much about education budgets. So now I ask, did we just lose another para? Because that's the cost.
So I will have to actually look into this because, Mass General Law, Chapter 71, Section 34 states that cannot be done. So
just to be clear, the question was asked to the CFO at the time, does this bring us below the obligation of spending?
Correct, it
and
would.
his answer was, with the debt obligation, which I'll address here in a little while, with the debt obligation that we're paying, meaning the city's paying on our behalf, that it'll be fine.
that's not how that works.
No, I know that.
So just to be very clear again, Chapter 71, Section 34, it says, in acting on appropriations for educational costs, the city or town appropriating body shall vote on the total amount of the appropriations requested and shall not allocate appropriations among accounts or place any restriction on such appropriations.
Because that's our responsibility.
Correct. The city or town appropriating body may make non-binding monetary recommendations to increase or decrease. But yeah, they can't do that. So the vote establish because may not limit the authority of the school committee to determine expenditures with total appropriation. So what will then have to happen, it would be up to you all where that 35 comes from. I think that's also confusing because we're talking about last fiscal year, not we're talking about FY '27's budget being 35,000 lower for what happened in FY '26.
Right.
So I'm so sorry. I did not know that it had passed.
I thought you knew that, sorry.
I'm so sorry. No, I should have known. I thought it was a motion. Yeah, I thought it was just a motion. I didn't think it had, okay. So I'm going to have to get back to you on that because I'm going to need to check with Desi, and I think I'll need to come before you all because you all are the ones that make the appropriation. So I suppose you would be telling me where the 35,000 should come from. Again, it doesn't help us for FY '27 to take it away from you all because that was from FY '26, and we're rectifying that with FY '26 dollars. So this would be for FY '27, that would be 35,000 less. And for the others, the pension obligate, that is neither here nor there.
Correct. But I'm just saying that's
Yeah,
what
we
they're
can't,
used.
and again, that's FY '27, not FY '26. We have to like
So I guess
focus on-
that leads me to one more question.
Yeah.
And so what has been said about the non-net school spending that the city needs to provide for
nothing.
transportation?
I've followed up an email and I've received no answers.
So the city can't pay their bills, they can't,
The last I heard they could, but Dr. Clarkson came up at the meeting and said there were several ways that it could happen, so I just
thank you.
haven't gotten information on how.
Ms. Centello. Did you go like this?
I'm glad that we're resolving this issue. Thank you for doing that. As a new, I don't know what we're doing right now. I mean,
You don't have to speak if you don't
no,
have anything to say.
I know. I just was caught off guard.
I mean,
it's sad that we're making
Tell me
these
about it.
decisions to try to like be malicious towards a school committee, but not realizing who are we really penalizing. So like Pena saying, like all of us, we are committed to make the payments if the overpayments did happen, and we'll be fine. But are we, like Pena said, are we going to lose another para? And what does that mean for our students? But hopefully we'll figure it out.
we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. Do you want to go into? Oh, go ahead, Tom.
Thank you. Thank you, Superintendent, for clearing that up. I know, the media, basically want to portray that like we stole some money, which is kind of, I would say, asinine. Excuse my language on that. And I hope you follow up on this story what the superintendent did, because I know the enterprise is in here. So just to refresh my memory, Joyce, piggyback on this, school committee pay was $5K, stipend was $3, which was $8. City council increases their pay through the person that attacks us. I think it came from him, that he's the one that filed the resolve to do a study to see if the elected officials in the city of Brockton are being paid for their jobs and meetings and so forth. He did that. And it's funny how that he's kind of attacking, it comes to a point that like, it's got to stop. There's nothing positive about the individual. It's always negative of just attacking local government. And we're the only governing body that's been trying to hold people accountable. That's clear as facts through all our meetings. But if a pay goes from $5K to $15K, added the stipend, it's $3. This body matched what the city council was making, rightfully so. We didn't change the $15K. What we did was increased our stipend. That's all it was, to what they were receiving. So if there was an error that was picked up through, it wasn't even an error that was picked up. What happened was during our budget hearing that we picked up on it, Mr. Pena, we can go back and watch Enterprise. I hope you do go back and watch and report it accurately. He indicated that there was a large amount that it didn't add up. It didn't add up to myself. I was like, this is more than what it is. And because we've been trying to hold the CFO accountable, he ran like he found it. You didn't find it with the deficit. You didn't find it with all these carryovers. We still haven't gotten our money. And obviously, he's being saved by certain members of the city council, which is very sad within itself. But there was no stealing of money. There was no malicious, you know, when it comes to cutting. Just to think about this, I hope the residents know that in Ward 4, Susan DeCastro, that we represent, cut $35,000. I mean, I didn't get a chance to watch the meeting because I just flew in last night, but to cut $35,000, I don't think she understands that we control the line items. She doesn't. She cut it overall. That's a paraprofessional, like Mr. Pena said, position. And statutorily, they can't do that. And this is where we talk about education, when we talk about, oh, maybe the school committee needs to have more training. We are the only governing body that does training. City council doesn't have any financial trainings. We have that through charting the course, and we have to take that. And I always encourage my members. I've taken about 9 of them, or even more. 70 on 70. Funding. So when we talk about education, I think it comes more from us, but this constant attack from the school committee or this because, you know, we're not doing what they want us to do. This is why we're elected. We are put in a position to make those decisions that represent our community. But to have an individual continuously attack a body instead of working with the body, it's a huge disservice. So with that being said, it's interesting that, you know, we're being targeted for $5,000. But last legislative session, and this is why I called for our accounts review to be committee of the whole to review. It's not just warrants, there's a lot more to it. But I specifically pulled the school committee budget the year before last. It was interesting, and there's also emails, and I hope Enterprise, you do a records request on this, with Mr. Clarkson, where he approved the school committee stipend for the former mayor, who received a $25,000 back pay. Why wasn't Councilor Farwell all over that? Why didn't Dr. Clarkson indicate that? He approved it. He signed off on it. But nobody on the council brought that to anybody's attention. Mr. Farwell's been attacking our school police officers for stealing money. And I'm going to go on record. We have somebody on the city side that did worse, $40,000 worth. But he's not attacking that individual. So he's picking the skin tone when it comes to governing bodies. He doesn't represent this community. He represents his self-interest and groups. And I hope he's watching, and I know he's gonna go make a Facebook post of, here's this committee member. Spade is a spade, brother. Call it like how it is. I'm sick and tired of being attacked by individuals that do not represent the whole of this community. And I know they've seen how the Cape Verdean community came out in droves yesterday. So, thank you, Madam Superintendent, for correcting that, and it will be addressed. However, I mean, moving forward, whatever that payment plan is, I don't think it's that much for somebody to be calling it out. And, oh yeah, remember this, Mr. Clarkson, that I gotcha, you didn't get us. We've been getting you, and you still continue to get us. So, Mr. Mayor, thank you.
Thank you. I think we've beaten this to a pulp. Can we go to number B, please?
I got an award.
B is an appointment of BPS representative, me, to the Reeds Collaborative Board of Directors. So that's your enclosure too. So as a reminder, we are part of the Reeds Collaborative, and as part of our membership, I have to serve on the board every year. So this is the reappointment of myself as the board member.
Need a motion?
Make a motion to reappoint Dr. Tiliani to the Reed's Collaborative Board of Directors.
Second.
A motion has been properly made in second to appoint Dr. Tehliani to this board. Ms. Centello.
Want to do it?
Yes.
She read it. I think she's okay with it.
Yes.
Mr. Gomes.
Yes.
Ms. Oliver.
Yes.
Mr. Rodriguez.
Yes.
Ms. Azak.
Yes.
Mr. Pina.
Yes.
Mr. Sullivan, you're still in?
Yes.
Awesome. Thank you.
So, Chair, on that motion.
On that
who
motion.
seconded? 3 people said,
I think we gave it to Oliver.
oh, just so Mrs. Campbell knows. Okay, perfect.
She was looking at me and she said me, so I gave it.
I did not do that.
You didn't? Okay. Numeral C, please.
Thank you. Item C is expanding student voice for BHS, Promise Champion, and BVLA. This was an item that had been brought up regarding our school committee representation. And so I didn't know if it wanted to be discussed, and we don't have to do it this evening, but in advance of next school year to determine how we are addressing our student representative on the school committee body.
Ms. Azak and then
Thank you.
Mr. Pina.
Actually, thank you, Superintendent. It was a while ago, maybe a couple of years ago, we had brought that up, Mr. Rodriguez, myself, and I'm not sure who else, but to just not have the high school, Brockton High School, but involve the other schools. It's always good to have the representatives. I would like to maybe meet with the potential students and, see why they would like to do this. It looks great on the college applications. I know it's very impressive being a student rep. Robert did an amazing job. In the past few years, we've had so many great student reps, but I'm not sure how the committee feels. But I would really like to open it up for other students rather than usually someone just picks somebody, but give others an opportunity as well if they're interested. So maybe just have a special night where we can meet some of the students, or if maybe the principals of those schools can make recommendations, see if the students, you have to be dedicated. It is a commitment to, attend the meetings, and you're gonna have to do the presentations and stuff. So just so they know what they're in for, really, before they accept it. But I wouldn't mind seeing what the committee thinks about that.
Mr. Pina, go ahead.
Yeah, I think this is an important move and to increase the voices of all of our schools. I think it's something that I had questioned as well, and I think that going to these schools and talking to these principals, obviously we would like to have them come before us so we can ask them questions as well. But I think that this is a move that I don't think we need to discuss much, other than the fact that we move forward. And I would just say that that we give you the authority to create a process and then us to review it. That way, I think it should be left up to the principals of the schools to have that discretion, but I would leave it up to you. I will. Does anybody else want to say anything? Go ahead. I make a motion to increase the number of student voice to the BHS, Promise Champion, and BVLA for the next school year, and to leave that process up to the superintendent and corresponding principals.
Second.
A motion has been properly made in second to recommend this favorably. Ms. Centello.
Yes.
Mr. Gomes.
Yes.
Yes.
Ms. Oliver. Mr. Rodriguez.
Yes.
Ms. Azak.
Yes.
Mr. Pina.
Yes.
Mr. Sullivan.
Yes.
Awesome. Number D, please.
Thank you. Sorry. Yes, we have our third community forum for the new Brockton High School at 7 p.m. next Thursday at East Middle School. We do hope folks will come out to hear more about the work to date, the preferred option, and the project cost and impact. We have been trying to publicize this on our social media, also sending out blasts to elementary school parents. So we are excited. We will have translation there as we have had in the past. And also it will be covered on Brockton Community Access TV.
The
So
time?
that's just general information.
7 PM.
That's just general information. We don't need to vote on this.
Right.
All right, items to be referred to subcommittee. Go ahead, sir.
I want to bring up an item that I submitted on 2/16. I would like to have a capital improvement plan to have facilities brought in front of us in the facilities subcommittee.
Motion.
I'm sorry, what?
Was that in form of a motion?
You don't need a
To
motion.
be referred, to be referred?
Yeah. Well, you still have to kind of motion it to a committee.
I don't think so.
It's just put me, you just throw it out there. Is that how it goes?
Yeah,
All right, I guess it goes to the committee.
Then secondly, to have Mr. Thompson come before us as well to talk about any projects that will be coming forward during the summer.
You said Thompson, right?
Yeah, Ken Thompson, yes. Yep.
I thought you meant the other T word.
Nope. And to have him be able to give us an update and make this more of a monthly update on projects that are happening, so therefore to have a monthly facilities meeting.
All right, good.
The next one is to the policy subcommittee. I had provided to the council of the body and to the superintendent, school committee, superintendent communication policy, and I wish to have that at the next policy meeting that we still haven't had one yet. That is it.
Great. Ms. Oliver.
Mr. Pina, do you want to do another subcommittee for athletics and the music to see what sports coming up in the summer and stuff? If you want to schedule that one?
Yeah, I was going to do it.
please?
I was going to do it at the end of this month, but obviously with the budget and everything else that was going on in facilities, I thought we were going to get further down the road. But yes, I am going to do a athletics, music, arts, and extracurricular subcommittee in most likely July before our next meeting.
If you can do it, just don't do it the last week in July, because I'll be away. I'd like to be there. Thank you.
Ms. Isaac.
Sorry, thank you. On Mr. Pina's recommendation for the policy subcommittee, can I also add, I'd really like us to review our out-of-state travel with our students, chaperones, are we taking the right measures, making sure that we're really, a lot of times, some of our forms haven't been updated in a very long time, and I think we should really take a look at, especially when they're traveling, taking planes, staying in hotels. I just want to make sure we really look at that policy and make sure that we're covering everything, from, just in case of an emergency to the basics of chaperoning. But I would like to add that and see if we can just review the current policy and see if we have any recommendations moving forward.
So moved.
Thank you. And then I've had a few questions. I've had a couple of emails asking about the dedication of the stage. With everything going on, it's the end of the year, there's so much going on. I hate to push it out to September, but if we can work on something I also want to give them the opportunity to be able to acknowledge, Mrs. Thomas and Mr. Macrina. So rather than rush it but not rush it, be able to celebrate them that evening when we do the actual unveiling. So if we can work on something, I know I've had some emails back and forth asking, do we have a date? And the dates that we had just weren't working out. But if we can work on that, let me know, and I will work on that as well.
Awesome. Go ahead, Ms. Cynthia.
Since we're talking about policy, can we add to review our budget policy? I would like for us as a team to look at it. I feel like this budget season, from speaking with other members that was here for longer than I, there was discussion about timeline. So I figure it will be a great idea for us to review it together and to figure out what can we put there so it becomes, this is the standard practice moving forward. Thank you.
Anything else? Mr. Rodriguez.
We're going to have a bid review on the 23rd, which is next Tuesday. I believe the vice chair is calling for a special that night also, so we can start the bid review at 6 p.m. and also through the superintendent, if we can have the procurement officer present as well for the members to have any questions. I would like that to be a committee of the whole if it's possible, because there's a lot of bids that have to be approved before July 1st, the fiscal year, so all the other members can have the opportunity to ask the procurement officer, questions relative to the bid process and the approval as well.
Take it in the form of a motion.
On the motion.
That you have to make it into a motion.
Motion to have the bid review as a committee of the whole.
Seconded.
Next Tuesday.
All right, motion has been properly made in second. Ms. Centello?
Yes.
Mr. Gomes? Ms. Oliver?
Yes.
Mr. Rodriguez?
Yes.
Azak?
Yes.
Mr. Pina?
Yes.
Mr. Sullivan?
Yes.
Awesome.
Can I add one more?
Go ahead, sir.
Can I add to the accounts review, monthly accounts review, to focus on particular sections within the district budget, meaning that, so if, unless the city wants to take over non-net spending, we could start with possibly transportation and go through all the transportation, unless the city wants to take it over, and then obviously we can just give the whole non-net spending to the city. But also to go down a line of each individual portion of the budget as it was spent, so that we can review fiscal year '26.
Cool. We'll cross that bridge when we get to it, as far as that other thing, too, that you just mentioned. All right, consent agenda. Anything that we want to pluck out of the consent? If not, I would like to entertain a motion that we accept it as is.
I make a motion to accept the consent agenda as is.
Second.
A motion has been properly made in second. Ms. Centello?
Yes.
Mr. Gomes?
Yes.
Ms. Oliver? Mr. Rodriguez?
Yes.
Ms. Azak?
Yes.
Mr. Pina?
Yes.
Mr. Sullivan?
Yes.
Awesome.
Okay, I'll read it into the record. So Roman numeral 4, the consent agenda. Item A is the approval of school choice public meeting minutes from May 19th, 2026. Item B is approval of the public budget meeting minutes from May 19th, 2026. C is approval of finance subcommittee meeting minutes May 12th, 2026. D is approval of finance subcommittee meeting minutes May 14th, 2026. Item E is approval of field trip Empower Yourself, August 6th through 8th, 2026.
Okay, we've voted on that, so let's go on to numeral 6.
Roman numeral 6 is new business. This is a discussion and potential vote. The district has secured a full-time school psychologist and is requesting approval to transfer $85,000 from contract services with the object and org that's there to personnel services, object org. I don't know if I have to read those out, to support funding for this position. I do want to clarify that this is for FY27, so this is for the budget coming up. We have been using contracted service to do these services up in the previous years, but now we have been able to hire a full-time school psychologist, or
Pina.
could, if this was approved.
Is that the full salary?
Yes, I believe so, yes.
Okay, and then, so you're taking it from personnel services, which, is that a empty position?
Well, it was,
unfilled position, or-
it was actually contracted services for psychology
Okay,
services.
and then that was my
It's
last
to-
question,
yeah,
is what were we paying for the contracted services?
130, 140. Thank you, Jenny.
100% approved.
Okay.
Well, how
like to make a
about
motion.
if we make that quickly, a
Make a
motion
motion.
before, while it's still hot?
Make a motion to approve the transfer of $85,000 from contract services to personnel services to support funding of this position.
Second.
A motion has been properly made. There's no discussion. A motion has been properly made in second. Ms. Centello?
Yes.
Mr. Gomes?
Yes.
Ms. Oliver?
Yes.
Mr. Rodriguez?
Yes.
Ms. Azak?
Yes. Yes.
Mr. Pina?
Yes.
Mr. Sullivan?
Yes.
Okay, good. So there you go.
Thank you.
We just
Rom-
saved a bunch of money.
Roman numeral 7 is school safety and security, and that's for police liaison.
Officer Mosley, welcome.
Good evening, Mayor, Superintendent, School Committee. Give us a quick briefing on safety and security. Public safety operations for all the graduations, Promise School, Champion, and the Brockton High School. From a public safety standpoint, everything went as smoothly and was successful. We have approximately 2 weeks of school remaining. There was a recent assault incident, and criminal charges against as many as 10 individuals are forthcoming. The security plans are placed for the soccer watch parties on June 24th and 26th. Staffing will include 4 police officers assigned to the schools and parking lot areas. And last but not least, new graduates that have been hired by the school department are currently in the middle of their FTO training and should be completed by September. Thank you.
Any questions for the officer? Mr. Pina.
Officer Mosley, sorry.
It's all right.
Just can you give me an update on traffic around the schools?
Which ones specifically?
Elementary schools, particularly the George, the Raymond, any of the elementary schools. Have we had any additional issues? Are we continuing to enforce traffic laws? Where are we at with that? It's just been a few months since we've discussed that.
Every day we assign an officer to those to the schools that we consider to be having traffic issues at those schools, and being consistent with dealing with those traffic issues and helping the parents drop their kids off safely, and that everyone gets into school safely.
And we haven't had any additional issues, such as the one that happened at the George? Everything's been moving along pretty smoothly?
As far as I know, yes.
Okay, anyone else? Ms. Azak.
So,
Is this a question for the
kind
school
of.
police?
Kind of.
Okay.
Well, no, yes, actually. So I spoke to the superintendent a few days ago. I just happened to be driving past one of my bus stops, and I noticed they were working on the road. So it's school police, but it should be school police. It should be our transportation. It should be our facilities. Should all be notified by the city when they're working on the roads. And when I reached out to Andre at Transportation, because I had a hard time getting through where they were working, and I'm having a hard time. How's our bus going to get around here? So, and there was students waiting, so I called them and I said, just a heads up, I'm not sure if anyone told you, it's a really tight area, and they were not aware of it. So, and I know I spoke to the superintendent. I just want to just put this out there that I know that they notify Mr. Thompson, but they also need to, Mr. Thompson, the school police, and transportation should all be on that same email. Because what if Mr. Thompson doesn't see the email? And, there's, whether it's city work or, I believe this might have been National Grid or something, but I mean, this isn't like, oh, we're just working on it unless there was a storm. A lot of these projects are scheduled well in advance, so they know what work is being done where. We just need better communication because, again, there were the huge caution orange signs, and there was kids everywhere, and it's just, you're trying to get through there, and there's signs everywhere. I thought it was just a safety issue, and I just think we have to work on better communication with our departments. If I'm not sure who in the city we need to talk to, but they just need to put our police, transportation, and facilities when, that way you're aware of it as well. And I know years ago, I think it was John Messina, used to send the emails. So I know I gave them the highway department's contact. So if we can just work on that.
Well, I just took notice of that, so
Thank
I'm going
you.
to bring it back to the office.
and that's why I said it.
Whoever gets notified in our office will make sure that the school gets notified.
Yeah, that's it. Just throw the 3 departments on there.
Sometimes we don't get notified because if it's just utility work being done by National Grid or the city doesn't really get notified. We notify things when it's our doing, like the road work and things like that, then we try to notify everybody. But sometimes when these utility companies are doing their thing, we don't even know about it.
They should. We should have something where they do notify, because half the street was closed.
Yeah.
And we have.
No, I
like,
just
2
made a
bus
little
stops.
notation.
No,
I
I
think I'll bring
appreciate it.
that
That's why I said it. So I appreciate that. And then one question that was brought up, and I know this is another thing. Are they charging for parking for the watch party? If they're going to be charging for parking and they're going to be using BHS's parking lot?
We're not, but
It's gonna
one of
be
the
free?
things that we're going to do is charge a little fee for people to come to the stadium and watch, and I think we talked about that after we pay whatever expenses we have on top of that, that the money would be donated to the schools.
Okay, just so our custodians don't have to be out in the parking
And
lots.
the only reason
and-
why we're actually charging anybody for it is just to make sure that, because people have to go online and sign up. We can only take like 5,000 people, and if you make it free and people just sign up, they take up those slots and then not show up, and it's not good for the city. That way, there's a $5, I think, cost per
That's
per ticket
reasonable.
and stuff.
No, that's definitely reasonable.
Yes, Mr. Pina.
See, I guess that's where we can get that $35,000 back.
Hey, listen, invite everybody to come. Go ahead, Ms. Sente.
This is about the graduation. When I was here at Brockton High for the BVLA Promise in our therapeutic school, when I was here, I did notice a significantly increase of officers there. I wanted to learn more about it. When I went to other graduations, like the Promise, I just didn't recall seeing many officers. I wasn't sure if those officers were specifically assigned for a reason, or is it because they was excited and wanted to be there with the student to participate. But I do want to learn more about why was the increase officers for graduation day.
The numbers. The number, well, you have about 10,000 people.
Hold on. I am not talking about Brockton High. I'm talking about the BVLA, the champion. It was not that many students.
No. It goes by the numbers. So if there's, for example, if it's, I think Promise had 30 students graduating. It's a smaller school, so you don't need that. You don't need a certain amount of officers for those graduations. Does that make sense?
It doesn't, but I think I feel like I'm not sure if I'm not asking the question. So when you're saying there's a number, so you mentioned 30. What is the ratio, I guess, per officer and students? Maybe I can understand it that way.
With this 10,000 people, you need a certain amount of officers where maybe if there's like, they're estimating, well, the school will say, how many people you think are going to attend? They say maybe 150. So there'll be only one officer. If they think it's going to be maybe 500, maybe 2 officers. That's why. It goes by that number, but I will get you the exact number. Okay?
I counted it was 7 officers, but yes, please do.
7 officers for what? For which? Where?
I was here. That's why I said I needed to address it, because it was you couldn't help it but not to see that many officers in the building.
7 for which event? I'm sorry.
It was here. Which day was the BVLA champion graduation? It was 3 schools graduating here. It was inside of Brockton High.
Right.
So yeah, if you can find that out, that would be great. I just want to make sure for next year, I feel like that is a time to celebrate for me when I see many officers there. I was wondering, like I said, was it something else? What is because of safety reasons? I think as a committee, we should know why. Like for me, it was, I wanted to understand more.
I will actually, I know the person to ask that question to.
Perfect, thank you.
All right.
Mr. Pina?
Me, for one, I'd like to thank the police officers for being there and for doing their job and protecting the fine citizens of Brockton.
Any announcements?
There was a formal invitation that all the committee members got. So Thursday at 9 a.m., there will be a ribbon cutting at the Davis Elementary for the 3 brand new basketball courts, and those that have time, hopefully there. Mr. Mayor, hope you're there. You're supposed to be speaking, so just let you know now. So it took a while, but I'm happy it happened. I started that journey before I got on the committee, and what government and all the red tapes and how funds are being allocated. So I just want to make sure that the ribbon cutting is highlighted, Mr. Enterprise guy, because it just shows that I'm going to attack the Enterprise as well. So they like using my picture and a couple of us, but just to highlight Mr. Mayor, you were there when we were there for the Cultural Day, just to see that a parcel of land that was just a wooded area turned into a playground for the students to actually play. And, I walk by the school when I do my walks, and just to see how, not just during school, but, after school, during the evening, how all 3 basketball courts are packed with kids playing ball. So it just shows that there's a need. And it's not just the Davis School. And, I encourage all the other members, make your recommendations in your ward, work through the superintendent and the facilities. Long as we put the plan forward, then we can, harass the mayor for some funds to make sure that this happens. Or, we can, lobby like I did through my state representative, even though it took a little while, but she was able to accommodate and getting us funds for that. So just to put it on record, the funds wasn't for a parking lot, it was for a basketball court. So I don't like being attacked saying that we got funds for a parking lot. So, but people have to park, so she's put that narrative out there. So hopefully you guys can make it. Also, I met the facilities director in the group at Marciano Stadium with member Peener. So we all know, thank you, Mayor, for allocating those funds to us. That field needed it, so they started cutting it up, and the field is, unfortunately, it's got to be offline. But I am amazed how quickly they're gonna have that field done. It's gonna be beautiful. So that's gonna be another ribbon cutting, and also the field house that we have back there. So we have a lot of ribbon cuttings from the stage, the basketball court. So those are some of the works that people don't see that we do behind the scenes of advocating for our community. So hopefully y'all can make it there this Thursday.
Cool. Ms. Oliver.
There is an event with the NAACP, Brockton Area Branch, for next Tuesday, June 23. We're going to have the sickle cell disease awareness. I'm welcome that a lot of family members, we do have a lot of students that do suffer from sickle cell disease, and I'm hoping that we can have residents really participate. There's going to be a lot of lectures. There's going to be physicians there talking and advocating for more research and study how do we basically support our students that live with sickle cell daily, and also how do we support more research for ending sickle cell disease. But definitely it's going to be June 23rd from 6 p.m. to 8:30 at the Brockton Library on 304 Main Street. Thank you.
Ms. Azek.
Sorry, one last statement. So it is our last meeting before we get to say anything to our students. So we have a lot of moving forward ceremonies next week. There's a lot of events. We just want to congratulate everyone. Have a safe summer. And we're looking forward to seeing many of you that are moving forward at your ceremonies next week. But again, even though you go on summer break, families always can reach out to us. We don't go on summer break. We're still here. But just congratulate everyone and have a safe summer, and we will see you in September. So that was it. Just have a great summer, everyone.
Well, just a quick announcement. I guess we, speaking of summer, we're going to go on our summer schedule. So our next school committee meeting is July 7th, and then the one in August is August 4th. Cool. Anything else? Can I entertain a motion that we adjourn?
Motion to adjourn. Second.
A motion has been properly made in second. Ms. Centello?
Yes.
Mr. Gomes?
Yes.
Ms. Oliver?
Yes.
Mr. Rodriguez?
Yes.
Ms. Azek?
Yes.
Mr. Pina?
Yes.
Mr. Sullivan?
Yes.
Having no further business, this meeting is adjourned.